on blast.
Back for episode 3, and we're starting off with a correction.
Oh.
Not real life. Jackie Mac 21 pointed out that I was wrong. I had said that CT was 38 because to me he's ageless, and I want to believe that he's the same age as you and I. He's actually 42. So he could definitely be on the Challenge All-Stars. Or more accurately, all these old heads, they could be on the regular challenge, which I think I would prefer.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let's do some introductions. I'm John Chadito.
Are you okay, man? And I am Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge, talking about All-Stars Season 2. We also had... oh God, I gotta scroll through the mentions. We also had a very nice comment from Drew Hans, who pointed out that this is our 14th consecutive season of the challenge that we are covering.
It sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot. It sounds like we don't have a lot of personal lives. And I assure people we do.
Well, it's been funny, right? Because for me, I don't know, like this pod has been interesting, right? Because I feel like this pod has been a connecting pod for me, because there's a lot of people now that will message me because a connector pod. And what I mean by that, I'm going to explain. I saw the look on your face when I said that. But what I'm saying
Sheldon,
is,
you know I hate people.
No. But I'm saying, like, I do like basketball pods. I used to do a Raptors pod after every single game. And so, but through this pod, every time, like, there'd be people from all over the place, right? Like people from Portland. Like we have someone who likes to show Blazer Girl was her handle, obviously a Portland Trail Blazers fan. So now the introduction is to obviously the challenge. That's how we connect. But then the messaging continues because we end up talking about Dame Lillard, right? And Dame time. And who doesn't love Dame time, right? Or, you know, there's just other people. Like there's someone else from Oakland, Jessica. Jessica always messages about, you know, when the Jays got Marcus Semien, for example. So we'd always talk about that. And it's like the challenge pod has been so interesting to me because, you know, we do all these other projects, but it brings you to someone's social media where I'm talking about random baseball or basketball or whatever, but it all comes back to the challenge and, you know, makes you feel good.
It does. You know what also made me feel good? We sort of surprised everyone with episode 1 of reviewing, recapping the Challenge All-Stars 2. And it was fun just seeing the mentions light up when people were like, oh shit, like here we go. So
one thing we try to do is we try to sorry, I'm interrupting you, but we try to be like totally straight up about it, right? And I think we talked about it on the episode when we were reviewing the last season that, you know, if you guys want us to do it, we'll do it. And hey, that's the truth. So here we are.
And a lot of people wanted us to do it. I was going to say, some people that were excited and tweeted at us when they saw that we dropped a new episode was Rochella Valdez, Laura Hopcroft, AK, better known as Aaron 797061109, really rolls off the tongue. Matthew Stasoff, Chris Housingen, I already mentioned Drew Hans, Lindsay, the list goes on. Clem McConnell, Jake Campos, Diane Feely. So thank you to everyone for all the love and support. We appreciate it. It really makes my day, especially because sometimes my mentions are filled with hate. So it's always nice to have some positivity on the timeline, in the mentions.
It's definitely been super interesting, right? And you look at it, and for me, it's been interesting. You see the same thing, and then the episode starts, and what we've been talking about so much about the love of this season of the Challenge All-Stars has been the music. And so when you start, and it's that intro to Nas, Got Yourself a Gun, I'm just like, it's a banger, even though they're playing the edited version where it's just got yourself, and it pauses, right? But even still, it's still such a like really cool way to start the episode and get me hype and get me right back into it.
I mean, I'm gonna just say it straight up. This is my song of the episode. I love Nas. I think longtime listeners know that you're a big Jay-Z guy. I like Jay-Z. I respect Jay-Z. I'm not the Jay-Z guy that you are,
Mhm.
because I was always a Nas guy. He's fallen off. I can admit he's fallen off.
No. Nas's last album that just came out,
It was pretty
I want to
good,
say a couple weeks ago. I actually really liked it. That was really really good. It was like
but
classic Nas.
but Stillmatic and Godson are my two
Okay.
favorite Nas albums. Same era, late
Hmm.
90s, early 2000s. And Got
Okay.
Yourself a Gun, or Got Yourself a, for the clean version, which is what we heard,
Yeah.
was, I mean, that was the hit single off of Stillmatic, one of the hit singles off of Stillmatic, but that was one of the big ones.
So
So,
I remember going to see Nas live. He did a show because there's a documentary for, I want to say the 20th or 25th anniversary of Illmatic. So there's a documentary and the show was basically the doc, and then he performed the album. And it was absolutely incredible. We had front row seats to it. One of my friends got front row seats, and it was like amazing. Like it was such a good show. Such a good show.
I mean, I saw him at the Rock the Bells tour with A Tribe Called Quest.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
they were right up there for two of the best performers. I mean, that was a ridiculous lineup that year, but
Mhm.
I mean, Nas, he's just, obviously his father is a very successful musician, and having two generations of being professional musicians, it shows. He's different, Some would say he's
Yeah.
crowned the best lyricist. Who's to say? Not to pick a fight with
See,
you.
it's just not an argument I'm gonna have right now. I'm in a good mood. Everything's all right. Just watch a couple episodes of the challenge. Everything's all right.
So I have a question for you, Sheldon, as we get into the
Mhm.
recap beyond just talking about how I love Nas. Who the
Okay.
fuck is Sophia? Like, she popped up. I'm like, who is this lady?
Yeah, but see, I have that reaction with a lot of the people on this season. So, and just on the challenge all stars, because like my early challenge watching is all a blur. Like there's certain things I remember, certain people I remember, like even Jody, right? Like Jody, I was like, oh yeah, no, I kind of remember her. Tina, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember her. But there's still people that are like, nope, don't know who that person is at all. And yeah, Sophia was one of those people. But this was a really like serious thing that went on here. And I don't know if they gave it enough airspace. And I'd like to go back and maybe do a deep dive if like more info came out on this whole hair situation, because it was really weird how they kind of touched on it, but then kind of just let it go and then showed that they were really mad at each other, but didn't go in on it at all. And I wonder if, because what happens a lot. One of the cast members will do an interview or talk about it or just tweet about it now, and whatever this era is, 2022 we're in. So I don't know if that's happened, and I'm sure someone in our mentions will let us know. But yeah, that whole thing was very strange. And I feel like, to me, and obviously, like black hair is a very interesting topic to begin with. And, for people that might not know, like I just thought it was very interesting, right? And I wish they gave it more airspace, but I understand why they didn't, because again, we're into the cookie cutter challenge and it's only 10 episodes. And maybe if this was like the bigger season of the challenge, they would have done a fuller breakdown to like fully explain what was going on. But I thought Sophia's reasoning for being mad made sense. Like it was triggering for her, right? And like, when you're talking about having certain type of texture, certain kind of hair, and then someone does your hair in one way, and then that becomes like a traumatic thing because kids are very mean and kids are making fun of you. And then now in your adult life, you probably don't even realize how much that stuck with you. So when it comes up, it's like, oh. So I thought that was interesting. And it made me not like Ayanna at all because she just kind of disregarded that. But I also don't know if Sophia explained it as well to her as she did to John A.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend like I understand the intricacies of taking care of black hair.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will say that I do think that people, their trauma, for lack of a better word, sneaks up on you sometimes. And I think that was part of what was going on with Sophia. Because, like, obviously, she asked for her hair to be braided.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly she got upset about it. I gather because of how it was done.
So sorry, I'm going to jump in here because there's a thing that an added context that I feel the need to add here that some people might not realize. So there's a part of this whole narrative, right, of Black people, Black women, especially when they end up on TV and how they do their hair. You heard it talked a bit with Big T and talking about her wigs, or even Davon when she was on for a couple seasons, right? And like, you bring the wigs, but do you let it go natural? And that's like a huge, huge, huge thing, just because of, you know, the deeper layers of straightening your hair and making your hair look like white people's hair, and like all these different layers that go into history. And like, you know, like, honestly, this is like a deep rooted thing. I will say though, there's a great doc, if this for some reason interests someone listening to this, a great doc by Chris Rock, actually, called Good Hair. It's a really good movie. And it's like, it's not like saying documentary obviously gives you one portrayal of what this is. And you're thinking, why would I want to watch a doc about good hair? Like, that makes no sense. But it's Chris Rock, so that will give you a little more insight. And it's him basically deep diving into the topic and learning more about it and really explaining the deep rooted history of it and why it's such a thing, the different intricacies of it. It's a very, and obviously because it's Chris Rock, it's going to be funny and it's informative. And, you know, he goes and interviews a bunch of different people to talk about it. But my point of bringing this all up was because this is a really, really, really big thing in terms of how you represent yourself and how you represent, you know, for lack of a better term, us on camera, right? And so when you heard Ayanna say to Sophia, oh no, like, I wanted to do your hair because you're not going to go out there with your hair looking all wild, right? Like, that's triggering for sure, right? When you bring it, you put it in that context of you're going to go on TV or you're going to be in front of these people with your hair all quote unquote, she didn't say this, but I'm saying it, nappy looking. And so we understand the connotations of all those things. Anyways, I bring all that up just to say, hey, Good Hair, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But if you just look up Chris Rock hair, the movie will come up. I'm sure it's available somewhere. Great watch. That would give you more insight into what was really going on here. And I kind of wish that they elaborated on it more to explain to people, because it's a learning point, right? And the last thing I'll say on this, because I think this part is very important, this is for the I'm tiptoeing around how I say it, but I shouldn't tiptoe. I'm just gonna say it.
Say it.
This is for like, no. I'm saying this for, because I know I've been in this situation before. And when you're close with people or you're friends with white people who might not be familiar with Black people's hair, and you say, can I touch your hair? First off, don't do that. Secondly, only do that if you know that you and this person are like, you know, like you're, you know, like there's a line of connectivity where you have to be, but it's not your coworker, right? It's not your classmate. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm also saying it for that, so that people understand who might not know how serious of a thing this is. Because you would never do that to someone else. Like, I wouldn't go to John and be like, hey, can I touch your hair? That's not a thing.
I was just going to say that. Like, white people, a great measuring stick is ask yourself, would I be asking or touching this person's hair if they're the same race as me? Like, if you're dating them and like it's like a gentle caress, sure. But if, like you said, if it's a coworker, a person on the street, a child you're taking care of,
and I'm saying this because I know there's like, it's very important, and we don't do this enough when we have these conversations. I understand that there's no malicious intent, right? Like it's different texture. You kind of want to feel it. You're curious. Like, so I understand there's no malicious intent. What I'm here to tell you is that it is not received well, and don't do that unless that is your best friend or your lover, or you're like someone that you're completely know that you're cool with them. And I mean, really cool. Again, not just your coworker.
Well, like I said,
We went on a tangent there. I apologize.
No,
but I really just thought that was a big
tangent.
thing. I thought that was a big thing that happened in this episode, that like they kind of just, they dropped it in and then moved on. And then they're like, oh, these two people are fighting. Why are they fighting?
Well, I think Sophia said one thing that I wish they'd followed up on in confessional or something, because I think it's an important distinction. I think I know white people are very guilty of seeing Black people as one monolithic culture. Like basically saying all Black people are the same. And Sophia said, when I first came from Haiti, and I don't need to tell you that as someone coming from a Caribbean country living in the United States, culturally, there's big differences between the West Indies and African Americans. And I imagine there's also big differences between Haitians and other Caribbean countries. Like I've been to the Dominican Republic.
1000%. They
hate Haitians and they share an island. It's split 50-50. So there's things going on that in that interaction between the two of them that I don't think white people understand, that the Haitian experience is different than the Dominican experience, which on top of that is different than the African American experience. And I wish they'd asked a follow-up question to be like, what do you mean by that? And like, if
just to like deeper go into it.
Yeah, because I think that's an important thing, because white people definitely often think that all Black culture is the same when it's not.
Well, and especially in the US, right? Because the US is very different, right? There's certain pockets where you might get some West Indian people, but not so much, right? And I mean, we're in Toronto, which is just a completely
very West
world
Indian
on top of that, right? So, sorry, I know this is a super long tangent, but this is another scenario, and we always invite it, right? Like, I want people to write in and ask questions, and what you guys thought of it, or if you end up checking out the Chris Rock doc, because again, it's a really good watch and really informative and really interesting. Like, there's so many things behind it that I did not know about, that I learned in it, and culturally, because as John just said, right, it's not a monolith. So I might know one side of the coin, but I didn't know like the other sides at all. But anyways, apologies.
Well, no, I think this is important. And there's one more thing that I want to add. Even if like a listener or someone who watched this episode is not familiar with the intricacies of Black hair culture or like the different Black experiences, Ayanna failed to give space to Sophia after she had that like triggering moment. Like Ayanna never said, was like, fair enough, okay, Sophia, you're having this moment where like it's intimate to like work on someone's hair. And like suddenly Sophia's not cool with the situation. And like it seemed like it snuck up on Sophia. Ayanna never gave her the space to be like, oh, hey, you didn't realize this was going to be an issue for you. And like that to me is also problematic. Like forget, I mean, all that other cultural stuff's important, but just like human to human, Ayanna was like, oh, your feelings snuck up on you. I get it. That happens. Like there is no empathy. From
especially for
Ayanna in the moment or
friends.
after. Like we've all gotten a bad haircut, right? Like we can all sympathize with it, right?
But like, and I also think the breakdown, and maybe they just didn't show it, but I don't think Sophia did a good job of articulating why it was a problem for her to Ayanna at all, right? I don't think Sophia told her, like when she explained to John A, I was like, oh, I totally get that. Like you're going back to being made fun of every day as a kid because of how your hair looked, because you were the different kid in the class.
And Darrell was in the room too, and he was quiet, but like he clearly understood too the implications.
Darrell is a wise man that knows when it's just time to sit back and listen, right? I appreciate that about Darrell. He is wise. I also appreciate times with Darrell when you step up and you know that it's times to step up, which he did in this challenge, which they were just supposed to randomly select teams. And clearly one team ended up being better, quote unquote, than the other, or at least that was the way that things shook down. And again, the reason why the challenge is amazing is because you break into teams and it's like, oh yeah, our team's way better. But then it ends up being about a puzzle. So like do you really know if your team's better or not? You know, and I think this went a lot closer than people thought. But what did you think of this whole breakdown of the teams?
I thought it was funny. I mean, we just finished praising Darrell, like in the same breath, but I thought it was funny that like you would think he would know better than to say, "Oh, look, we got all the strong guys." I mean, you'd think Darrell would know better than to assume that it was like a strength and endurance challenge.
Yeah.
You know, like you think that by this point everyone should know have it in their core that like regardless of what you think it's going to be, what you want is a mix. You want a mix of smart people and a mix of strong people, no matter what you think it's going to be. Like that's never going to fail you. Like there's always going to be some trick where it's going to be like, yeah, you have to carry this boulder for like 10 miles, but then it's going to break into pieces and it's going to be a puzzle. Like you need a mix.
And the way that this one broke down, I mean, essentially like it was go get the big puzzle pieces, put together one big puzzle, go get the other puzzle pieces that were in water, bring them back, put together another puzzle. Essentially that was it. But I found this challenge really interesting because breaking it into such big teams led you to disagreements and like just opportunity for extreme chaos, right? Because who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be yelling? Who's going to take the lead? That was all super interesting to me.
It was interesting to me. And also, again, Ayanna doing way too much. She like, on the one hand, I agree with her that the one thing you don't want to do, like she did recognize that the big challenge, pun intended, is that there's going to be a bunch of them and they're going to start talking over each other. Like, yeah, for sure, that's an issue. But like the way that she was speaking to them like a class of kindergartners, I was like, this is not the energy that you want to bring to this group of people. Like, this is not going to go over well. I also thought this looked really hard, like in the sun, you know, they're in Mexico. It would be a lot. I mean, part of the issue that's going on with Ayanna though is that she's got that life shield from last episode. So she's got the confidence of like, no one's touching me. She also says that she can watch who is and isn't good. Like she seemed to think it gave her superpowers or something.
She's definitely feeling herself in this episode. And it's funny because you're right. Great job by her to realize, yeah, I'm fine. I'll step up and take the lead because I know I'm not in danger because of the life shield. The problem is it's still so early in the game and you need to be worried about, are you doing a good job of having people like you? Because if you don't like someone, you can just, and I wrote this down here, and I know this ends up coming up way later on. I don't even think it's this episode, but my point is more so you having the life shield just means, okay, cool. Like I'm just going to put you up and force you to use it at some point. It doesn't mean that you're always going to have it forever. So you need people to like you. And I don't know if people are liking her right now.
I mean, it's pretty hard to like her, to be honest. And it's so funny. I have this in my notes. It was like 2 days ago that she like helped Leah finish, and everyone's like, yes, what a competitor. Like so honorable, like so much virtue. And then like 2 days later, they're all like, fuck her. Like we can say it.
And everyone in the confessionals were like, yeah, it's definitely personal and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why is she so mad at Sophia? And it's just like, I don't know. But my question for you is, do you like the Venga Boys?
Do I like the Venga Boys? I love the Venga Boys. I love this song in particular. They're still putting out music.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wait, what? That's not a real thing.
What
is their second song?
Or that they're putting out music?
All of the above. You're blowing my mind.
Their second song is Boom Boom Boom. I Want You in My Room.
I forgot about that song. Oh, man, my bad. You said that as if you were ashamed that I didn't know that.
I am obviously that you didn't know that.
Okay, hold on. 2 things. First off, my apologies. I do know of that song. It is unfair for me to say they were a one-hit wonder. Cool.
They are a 2-hit wonder. Thank you.
Well, come on, man. Like, ain't nobody repping for the Venga Boys.
You clearly haven't been to enough pride parades. They're definitely still
Okay.
number one.
Okay, fair. And you are correct. But my point is more so that like the song, like I get it. Like this is a catchy song, but like I don't know. It gave me bad memories, I think, because it was one of those, there's like you're like dancing right now as if the music's playing and it's not playing at all.
I'm humming it. Hopefully it picks up on my microphone.
I have bad memories of this song because it was one of those like pop songs that, just get played everywhere. It got played literally everywhere for like a year straight, like Mambo number 5 or like the Macarena or something like that, where it's just like, okay, I get it. It's a catchy ass song, but this is doing way, way, way too much. There's just so many songs like that, right? Like when we go back to just what pop music was, and I'm sure it happens now, but I think it's a lot different now because obviously like I don't want like TRL doesn't exist, right? Like all of those shows that, would tell you or would force feed songs. I mean, they exist on a certain level because Post Malone has a career, but do you know what? Hold on. You're out here just gonna defending Post Malone. Like Post Malone's all right, but we all know
I'm a big
Post
time
Malone he's a media plant. He's an industry plant. Like, hold on. Post Malone's dad is like boys with Jerry Jones, like the Dallas Cowboys owner. Post Malone's dad is like the vice president of like food and beverage or something like that at Cowboy Stadium. Like something ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Post Malone's dad is boys with Jerry Jones. Yes.
Wow.
The same Jerry Jones, who I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, whose Dallas Cowboys decided that they weren't going to win a playoff game for yet another year. They just so happened to lose to my San Francisco 49ers. But on a more important note, the Dallas Cowboys were able to lose a football game the day before Martin Luther King Day. And you know what this coincidence is? The same Dallas Cowboys that allowed one Kyle Rittenhouse to have a grand tour of Cowboy Stadium and walk around and show him the place and all that stuff. Couldn't happen to a better team.
That's fair. That's very fair. I was going to say,
tangents are wild on this episode.
We are all over the place, and I love it. I have a theory about the Challenge All-Stars, but this is our third episode.
You're going to say I have a theory on Jerry Jones and Post Malone, but anyway.
I mean, I want to have a career.
Thank you for keeping us on track. Thank you for keeping us on track.
I have a theory about this season. So we're recording episode 3. It's only a 10-episode season, 30% through. I don't think that you or I actually like the Challenge All-Stars season 2. And furthermore, I think most people don't like this season.
Okay.
But they like 2 things that this season has that the regular challenge doesn't have.
Okay.
90s bangers, 90s and early 2000s bangers, and swearing. I think people are just here for the cuss words, and they miss songs like, I'm sorry to say it, the Venga Boys. Right? Because think about
interesting.
It's hard to argue that there are bigger fans of the challenge as a franchise than Sheldon Alexander and John Chidley Hill. We have hundreds of hours of proof that we are super into this show.
Okay.
Here we are on our 3rd episode. We talk more about the music than we talk about what's actually happening on the show.
It's true. It leads us to wild tangents for sure. And even tangents like, it's not like Post Malone was a thing, but he just caught strays in this episode for no reason.
I know. My guy Posty, the #1 Olive Garden fan. He was on the Pokemon soundtrack. How are you gonna hate?
I think that you just said enough right there, man. I know what you did there.
There's nothing I love more than stopping you in your tracks with my ridiculousness.
After however many episodes we're on, yes. Over 200 episodes, yes, correct. No, but to your point about this season, my take on it is that the reason why I think people like it is because it's just back to the formula of plug and play television. It's almost as if you're sitting down to watch like the Big Bang Theory, or you're sitting down to watch Seinfeld or Friends. You just sit down and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get some drama, some people arguing a little bit, someone backstabbing someone. Then you're going to get a challenge. Then you're going to get an elimination. And then you're going to get a next time on. Bing, bang, boom.
And then you're going to get, go ahead.
No. Whereas I think like what the other challenge went astray. No, but the other challenge went astray by like making the episodes super long. Not having every episode be a challenge and an elimination, right? You just know what you're going to get here. And the end point is 10 episodes. So you're getting to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I think you're right that the 90-minute episodes hurts the regular challenge. It also really hurts the challenge, the regular season, that now every season they're introducing people that a North American audience does not know.
Yeah.
So there's less emotional attachment. Like the last season, Spies, Lies, and Allies, we didn't know half of the people, right?
Yeah.
And it's a 30-person cast, so it's really hard to get to know them. And unlike the Fresh Meat and Fresh Meat 2 seasons, which are specifically geared toward introducing new people, suddenly we're supposed to be like up on Romanian Survivor. Not going to happen. Yes. Right? And
I think I know a little too much about Romanian Survivor. So agreed.
I also think that part of it's not on the actual challenge, like the producers of the show, but the last 2 seasons, or 3 seasons, were produced during the COVID. The last 3 seasons were produced during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that limits who they can bring. Like, we don't have to get into the whole vaccination conversation, but if you're going to travel internationally, all your cast members have to be fully vaccinated. And
no, totally.
And it's easier to bring in people from around the world, right? For a host of reasons. So, I understand why people aren't into it, but I'm not going to go so far as to say that the Challenge All-Stars is better. I just think it's, like you said, familiar. And I'm very serious when I say that people enjoy the swearing and people enjoy the music. Like, I think that's a big difference.
We know that people love nostalgia. So, yeah.
Speaking of nostalgia, they also played All Saints, which is another song that I love.
Okay, do you know what was funny? Because I was like, wait, who sings this song? I'm like, I know this song. I definitely know this song. Who sings this song? But I wasn't going to look it up because I'm like, I know John will take care of me.
Yeah, I mean, Sheldon, you were in North Toronto in 1997. You know All Saints to hear it. Like, this was, these were big bops circa 96, 97. Speaking, we got to perhaps focus up here a little bit. So the black team wins, which means that Ryan, who volunteered to be like the captain, and Ayanna from the green team are supposed to go in, but she's automatically safe because she has a life shield. And TJ's like, all right, vote amongst yourselves to decide who's going to replace Ayanna. Before anyone can say anything, she goes, well, I'm team captain. I'm just going to choose. I chose Sophia. And then has the audacity to say it's a gift. Sheldon, should I get that for you as a gift? I mean, your birthday is a few months away, but should I save up to put you in elimination who
wants that kind of gift? Nobody wants that kind of gift. Get out of here with that. That was terrible. Horrible,
I'm not going to say I'm a Jasmine fan. I don't dislike Jasmine. I'm Jasmine neutral. But she really hits the nail on the head when she said, that's not a gift. You're just being an asshole. And then Katie says, what once was a truly admirable person is turning out to be an asshole. And Katie, like, the admirable person bit, that was maybe 48 hours ago. Like, that was super recent.
Yeah. It's like Ayanna came in and she's like, I'm just going to be the villain. I'm just going to make good TV. I'm going to hit all the marks. I'm going to be the good person. I'm going to be the villain. I'm going to be everything. I'm just going to be the star of the show.
We're going to get that screen time.
I have a question for you, though. We saw Ayanna and we also saw Tina taking charge here. Who would be the worst of the two to like be the leader of your squad? Like, who would you rather not work with the most?
I actually think I would rather not work with Tina, because at least Ayanna had an agenda. It seemed like Tina was just shouting for the sake of shouting.
It's fair. Totally fair.
Like,
there's a lot of shouting going on, which I think is, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, interesting. But now we get to the strategy portion of it, right? Which is another reason why I think people do enjoy this, because you get this little huddle up section where promises start to get made, and Darrell makes some promises to his crew in which he says, listen, Kohutta, MJ, don't worry, you guys in my room, we're a crew. And John A, you guys are all safe. Which is weird because I was like, that's not like Darrell to do that. And I also didn't know that Darrell was that cool with any of them beyond we're in the same room, right? So I thought that was very strange. But it also led to the, I guess, what is it? The deliberation with, the two winners, him and Tina. And that was just weird because I think Tina just steamrolled him.
He did. Yeah, she did. Before we skip ahead to that, though, we have my line of the episode.
I know,
which is Darrell's plan is to nominate Steve, which is a great plan because I'm not Steve. I'm Kohutta.
It was good.
Kohutta is low-key great in confessional because he's got like that great accent. He's super nice and he's got like a really dry sense of humor. That killed me. Like I had to pause. I was laughing so hard at that.
No, it was good. It was definitely good. Definitely good. But like, again, how did we come up with this plan? Because basically they started off by saying, we don't want to put anyone from the winning team in. Okay, cool. So that eliminates a bunch of people. Darrell promises his people they weren't going in, but the problem is his peoples were all on the losing team. Right? So like none of it made sense. They dwindled it down. And it ends up being MJ, Jody, Kohutta, and John A, which essentially none of those people are Darrell's picks. And Jody's only in there because Tina doesn't like Jody. So what did Darrell accomplish here?
Nothing. He saved no one. He just it was the weakest moment we've ever seen for Darrell. Like it was crazy. Yeah,
I don't know. It was a strange play. The deliberation happens, and the biggest thing was Sophia. Basically, she just comes out and says, "You know what? I want to go against Jody." What did you think of that move?
I mean,
it's a long pause there, my friend.
I think it was pretty dumb. I mean, John A says it in confessional. Sophia basically just saved her. I think like Sophia saying like it would be an honor to square off with her. I think Sophia just wanted to go home. I also think that something that we're seeing, and we're going to talk about this with episode 4, is that some of these people have been away from the challenge for too long, and they don't understand the game anymore.
The beats.
Yeah. Well, they seem to think that like honor is important, or like or that it's important to go and improve yourself, or
it's like winning matters.
No, what matters is not being eliminated and then winning the final. And like the entire point, no matter what the format of the challenge is, the entire point is avoid elimination as long as possible, or altogether if you can, and then be good at running far, eating gross things, and doing puzzles. That's all you have to do on little sleep. That's how you win the challenge every time. That's the game plan. It works for everyone. You just have to do those 4. That's the 4 steps.
And I think we've had moments on the show before where we've seen a person decide that they basically want to go home and they would just rather go home against a good person because then it's like, oh, well, of course I had no chance.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of what happened as well. But the other part that's weird about this season is, okay, cool, you're going against Jody, but it could be a puzzle. Right. And it wasn't a puzzle, but it was pretty damn close. It was tic-tac-toe. Like, why couldn't you beat Jody at tic-tac-toe? Do you know what I mean? It's so strange. This is why the challenge is amazing, because they're playing tic-tac-toe, but for absolutely no reason at all. It's like, okay, well, like I always picture the meetings that they have where they're coming up with the competition. So it's like, okay, guys, who's got an idea? John, what do you got? And you're like, all right, how about tic-tac-toe? But it's not just tic-tac-toe. You got to run back and forth while holding these balls that are on fire. Like, boom, that's it. Let's go. Right? It's like, what? It's just tic-tac-toe. And so my greater point, not to like diss what the elimination round is, it's more so just the concept of, oh no, I have no chance against Jody. It's like, why can't you beat Jody at tic-tac-toe? Right?
My second line of the episode, yeah, I'm taking two, is again Kohada, who says, I haven't played tic-tac-toe since probably the World Championships in Moscow, 1992. So it's been a while.
That was my line of the episode too. It was so good. So good. Great
Sorry
stuff from Kohada, as you said. No. Hey, listen, we're a team, okay? We're a team. Okay. It's all right.
I have to ask you an important question in the spirit of teamwork. Okay. What's your go-to tic-tac-toe strategy? Because I have to tell you, in my humble tic-tac-toe playing opinion, they all done fucked up. But how do you play tic-tac-toe? What's your go-to?
Well, you have to start in the middle because that just gives you, to me, I like starting in the middle because it gives you the most leeway. But here's the thing that I didn't understand. Like, we didn't see enough blocked games. Like, you'd have to assume that there were blocked games, right? And they just didn't show it.
Yeah.
You have to assume.
I guess so. I was just going to say, so my go-to strategy is you start top left.
Okay.
And then you try to go corner.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Because that way
the person's going to take the middle.
Yeah. Because that way you always know, but like even in regular tic-tac-toe, if I have first go, I go top left.
Mm-hmm. No, because I know what you're saying. You go top left, I'm going to go in the middle, then you're going to go diagonal to that. And then whatever the next move is, boom, I'm in. Win. Yep. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
You either get a
strategy.
You either get a win or it's a tie game if you go top left every time.
But I think you win because the person's going to go in the middle. The second person is going to go in the middle, at least the first game, right? And then if you go the diagonal corner, whatever their next move is, you just hit the other corner.
Yep.
And then now you got to win no matter what.
Yep.
Too bad Ayanna couldn't figure that out. And she was done. And like brutal mistakes too. Sophia, my bad. But do you know what the funny thing is about that is I didn't understand, and I was trying to put myself in their shoes as they were messing up. And it's like, okay, I understand that you're trying to do it really fast, but are you doing it that fast that you're blatantly not seeing that you're making the wrong move about to lose?
I found that all four competitors, as they were running to and from the tic-tac-toe board, were staring at their feet. Like, to me, as you run to the board, you say like, oh, where are we at? You know, and you don't even have to look at the board the entire time, just like the last 10 feet of your jog, you know?
Yeah.
So obviously, Kohada draws on his world championship experience, wins. Yep. Jody wins pretty easily.
Yeah.
We've already said our lines of the episode. I think we're in agreement of the song of the episode, Benga Boys. Mm-hmm. What was, it was not Benga Boys, it was definitely Nas. Who is your MVP?
I let you slide. So yes, Nas, Got Yourself a Gun, song of the episode. Kohada, since you took it, I'll give it to Sophia at the very end, who she's doing her confessional and she's like, to Ayanna, you gave me a gift. then you gave me a gift. Or sorry, you believe you gave me a gift. And then you gave me a gift. Wait, nah, fuck you, man. I thought that was hilarious at the end. So shouts to Sophia. The MVP of the episode, I mean, I guess Tina. And it didn't fully work out for her, but her plan to like try to get Jody out almost worked, except for Sophia's lack of ability to play tic-tac-toe. Because imagine if Jody goes out when nobody would have expected it, and it would have been a great elimination for her to go out in, because again, it's just beating her in tic-tac-toe. So, and she led her team. Her and Darrell took advantage of the fact that they're like, you know what, we're going to volunteer now to be the leaders of the team, or captains, whatever it's called, when we know that our team's stacked. And then that way you're not running the risk, or you're lessening the risk of having to volunteer later on when your team might not be as stacked and the numbers might have dwindled. But now you can always say, oh no, we volunteered. We already had our shot. So I'm going to give it to, I'm giving it to, why am I drawing a blank now? I was about to say Katie, and that's not Katie.
Tina.
At all. Tina, thank you. It's been a long morning, man. It's been a long morning. I'm giving it to Tina because she also steamrolled Darrell and like got her agenda through and blatantly disregarded anything Darrell was saying.
Yeah, I see your point. I'm going to go with Jody, and I'll tell you why. It's not just that she withstood this attack, but it sort of the sense we got from confessionals was that Jody was lacking confidence. Mm-hmm. And I feel like now she's got that confidence. Now she knows that she can do this thing, and that she is the bad mother effer that she once was, like still has it, So glad to see that. Where can the good people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and like and subscribe to the pod wherever you get your podcasts. You killed it, pod. Even find us on YouTube and just bless us with a subscribe, and hit the comment section. Let us know. That's how we keep the conversation going. And yeah, we're here. Thanks for making us do the Challenge All-Stars. I am enjoying it more than I thought.
You're enjoying it more than I am, I think, is my impression. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jchidleyhill, and you can find me on TikTok at Jesus Shuttlesworth, which I'm saying slowly because one listener followed and was like, I had to roll back to like make sure I got the right TikTok account. So I'm gonna say it again: Jesus Shuttlesworth. There you go. Until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed